At first glance, it looks like Jamie Lee Curtis is on top of the world. She's fresh off her Oscar win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. She's back in the spotlight with a new Freaky Friday sequel alongside Lindsay Lohan, and her name is once again celebrated in Hollywood circles. For fans, it feels like the perfect career renaissance, a second golden chapter for a woman who has already given decades of unforgettable performances. But behind the smiles, behind the glowing red carpet moments, something else has been quietly unfolding. Something few could have expected. Jamie Lee Curtis is secretly preparing to walk away from Hollywood forever, and the reason why is as heartbreaking as it is powerful. At 66 years old, Jamie has seen more than most. Born into Hollywood royalty, her parents Leigh and Tony Curtis were both legends of the silver screen. They knew fame, wealth, and the adoration of millions. But Jamie also saw something darker. She watched as the industry that once adored them eventually turned its back. She saw the rejection, the fading spotlight, and the heartbreak that came when the very thing that had given them purpose began to slip away. For her, that was not just her parents' story, it was a warning. In a rare and emotional admission, Jamie recently revealed that she's been planning her retreat for decades. She said, "I witnessed my parents lose the very thing that gave them their fame and their life and their livelihood when the industry rejected them at a certain age. I watched them reach incredible success and then have it slowly erode to where it was gone. And that's very painful." With these words, Jamie peeled back the curtain, showing a vulnerability few stars ever admit. Hollywood, with all its glitz, comes with a price, and she refuses to pay it in the same way her parents did. To her, this isn't about giving up. It's about choosing her ending before it's chosen for her. As she explained, "I have been prepping to get out so that I don't have to suffer the same as my family did. I want to leave the party before I'm no longer invited." Those words reveal a deep truth about fame. In Hollywood, no matter how high you rise, the fall can come at any moment. And Jamie Lee Curtis, who has always walked her own path, wants to make sure she bows out with dignity, not desperation. Friends say she has been constantly talking about this plan. One insider revealed, "Jamie has had the kind of career comeback most actors only dream of, but she refuses to wait until the phone stops ringing. She would rather choose the exit herself. She's always been a rebel." That word, rebel, might be the key to understanding her decision. Jamie has never been afraid to break the mold. Whether it was reinventing the horror genre as the original Scream Queen in Halloween, showing her range in comedies like True Lies and Freaky Friday, or surprising audiences with dramatic depth, she has always taken her own road. Maybe this time her rebellion is simply stepping away on her own terms, and yet it's not an easy choice. For someone who has given her life to acting, who has found joy and purpose in performing, saying goodbye is a bittersweet thing. The recent filming of Freaky Friday 2 was described as a career highlight. Playing Tess Coleman once again, this time as a grandmother, gave her a chance to revisit a beloved role. Fans celebrated her return, and for a moment, it felt like the perfect continuation of her story. But behind the scenes, Jamie admitted it came with pressure. The weight of expectations, the fear of overstaying her welcome, these thoughts were never far from her mind. What makes her story even more emotional is how long she's been preparing for this moment. Jamie says she has been self-retiring for 30 years. Instead of chasing project after project, she has carefully balanced high-profile roles with long breaks away from the spotlight. In many ways, she has already been stepping back, choosing peace and privacy whenever she could. The Oscar win, the sequels, the late career success, they feel like bonuses. But for Jamie, they're not the beginning of a new chapter. They're the closing notes of a career she's been ready to let go of. To understand the weight of this decision, you have to understand the shadow her parents' lives cast over her own. Janet Leigh will forever be remembered as the victim in Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. Tony Curtis remains a legend from Some Like It Hot and countless classics. But behind the fame, their later years told a sadder story. Hollywood turned cold. Opportunities dried up. The magic faded. For Jamie, watching them lose not just their stardom but their sense of identity was devastating. It shaped her in ways she's still reckoning with. Her retirement isn't just about her career. It's about healing old wounds and refusing to repeat the same heartbreak. What's remarkable is the clarity with which Jamie speaks about it. She doesn't talk about fear or bitterness. She talks about acceptance. She talks about choosing peace over pressure. She talks about leaving while she's still loved, not waiting for the day the world decides it no longer cares. That kind of perspective is rare in Hollywood, where most cling to the spotlight until the very end. Jamie Lee Curtis, however, has never been most people. Of course, for fans, the idea of losing her from the big screen is painful. She has been part of our lives for nearly half a century. She gave us Laurie Strode in Halloween, a character who became a symbol of survival. She gave us laughs in A Fish Called Wanda, action in True Lies, heart in Freaky Friday, and wisdom in her later years. Even off-screen, she has been an advocate, a writer, and a voice of authenticity in an industry that often feels anything but real. Saying goodbye to that feels impossible. But maybe that's exactly why she wants to leave now. To let us remember her at her best, to lock in her legacy without letting it fade. Her story is one of strength, vulnerability, and a rare kind of courage. Choosing to retire isn't about weakness. It's about wisdom. It's about refusing to let an industry define her worth. It's about walking away with her head held high. For Jamie Lee Curtis, the end of her Hollywood journey isn't a tragedy. It's a choice. And in that choice, there's power. So as we reflect on her remarkable career, we are reminded of the humanity behind the fame. Jamie Lee Curtis has always been more than the roles she played, more than the awards she collected, and more than the headlines she generated. She is not just the scream queen who redefined horror with Halloween, not just the Oscar winner who stunned the world with her late career triumph, and not just the Hollywood icon who has graced our screens for decades. She is, at her core, a daughter who carries the lessons of her parents, a woman who values dignity over applause, and a storyteller who understands the true power of knowing when it's time to write the final chapter. For many, Hollywood is a dream factory, a place where legends are made and lives are transformed. But Jamie has always seen it for what it really is, a place of both light and shadows. She grew up in a household where the cameras were always close by, where fame seemed eternal, and where her parents' names commanded respect across the globe. But she also grew up seeing what happens when the applause fades. She saw the cruel reality of an industry that worships youth but often forgets its elders. She saw the heartbreak when opportunities dried up, when the phone stopped ringing, when the very people who once adored you turned away. Those memories never left her. It is because of those memories that Jamie has chosen to step away on her own terms. She refuses to let the industry decide when her story ends. She refuses to give power to the same machine that once broke her parents' hearts. Instead, she is reclaiming that power for herself. That is not an act of retreat. That is an act of courage. That is strength disguised as surrender, and when we look at her career, it becomes clear why her choice is so extraordinary. She has already given us everything an actor can offer. From Laurie Strode's terrified resilience in Halloween to her comedic brilliance in Freaky Friday. From the boldness of True Lies to the emotional weight of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Jamie Lee Curtis has proven that she can do it all. She has made us scream. She has made us laugh. She has made us cry. And most importantly, she has made us believe. But perhaps the most powerful story she is telling is the one unfolding right now. The story of knowing when to let go. Most stars never find that wisdom. They cling to the spotlight until it fades against their will. Jamie, however, is showing us another way. She is teaching us that dignity is greater than fame, that peace is worth more than applause, and that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is step away before you're pushed aside. So when history remembers Jamie Lee Curtis, it won't just be for her iconic roles, her blockbuster performances, or even her Oscar win. It will be for the humanity she carried into every choice she made, for the honesty with which she faced her past, for the courage she showed in shaping her future. She has lived her career like a masterpiece, painted with light and shadow, triumph and heartbreak, beginnings and endings. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most inspiring role she's ever played, not on the screen, but in life itself.